Hello and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky verse. Well, welcome back, Geek Freaks. I am TC, joined as always by JJ.
Hello.
And Toy Story.
Hello, everybody.
JJ had an unfortunate shrinking injury earlier.
Yeah.
So, shrinking accident, I guess.
It's going to be a problem. And it's the Deadpool. What is it? The Deadpool problem?
The Deadpool problem. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, where's your unicorn? Oh, man. How are you guys doing? It feels like forever since we've done one of these.
I know. I wasn't here last time. That's why.
Oh, that's right.
My presence was the empty void down here.
I know you didn't watch it, but because we always say stuff anytime you're not there.
About me, I know.
Watch it. It's like, oh, he didn't watch this. We're going to say this about you. But cheers to everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Monday so far. If you're watching in the morning, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had the Bronze and Modern Gods, and you missed out on that.
I did miss.
Sorry.
Very upset. They're really cool guys.
It was cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would go back and give that a watch when you get a chance. Toy Story. It was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But today we have a pretty cool topic. So we know that the world has kind of been taken over by everything WandaVision. You could probably see a little bit of it in our background today. So we decided to kind of do a character spotlight. There's all these characters. People are telling you all these different things. So we're really going to spend some time today and dive into WandaVision, all these characters, all these different names you're hearing about, who these people are, what their backstories are, what the books are that you can get a lot of these people from. And hopefully we get some people informed out there. Maybe you can pick up some books before, the flippers get wind of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't watch this. We do a lot of anti-flipper messages, so maybe they're not fans of us. But before we do that, we're going to turn it over to Toy Story for the Geek Beat.
Yes, we are. So first off to start, we got a new Justice League trailer for the Snyder Cut, right?
I think it literally came out the day after we recorded our episode, or the day before our episode. So I don't know. You guys give your thoughts. I'm curious.
I'm still excited to see it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to like it any more than the last one, but
the problem I have is, again, I've said this, release the damn movie already. Like, stop with the trailers. I don't want to see any more trailers.
You think it's taking too long?
It's taking. Yeah. It's dragging out a little too much now, and I think it's going to get to a point. Like, I know it's coming out soon, but I mean, if it's going to be longer, it's going to piss some people off. Just do it already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is it? Is it 18th, I think, or the 26th?
March 18th, I think it was.
So it's like a little bit over 2 weeks.
4 hours.
But
yeah, I don't know.
But what's going to happen between now and then? You know what I mean? Are they going to release another trailer?
Yeah.
Just do it already.
The Joker thing was weird, where it's like I felt like all I saw for like 3 days is like, we live in a society. Like everyone was just saying that. It was just like, we live in a society. I was like, what is this about? It seems like they're really expanding on that like dream sequence he had in like Batman vs Superman. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm in kind of the same boat. I'm gonna watch it. I just kind of want it to be over with. I'm not really judging it. It's like I really don't think it could be worse when you're adding like another 2 hours to a movie.
Legit.
But if it is, that's just gonna be terrible. I mean, if it's bad, like really bad, he's gonna be done. Mm-hmm. Like he's taking a big risk here, and he's gonna get burned if like people absolutely hate this. So I really hope it's not. I mean, I think he's done some good things. I think he's missed others, but no one's perfect.
And you're 100% on that. And the longer he drags it out, and the more they're starting to, I mean, I think by the trailer, I mean, we've already seen the movie, and I think we've seen a lot of what is being added in the trailers. So again, just release the damn thing.
So what do you guys think? Who do you think? So he said there's going to be a huge reveal at the end of a character we've never seen. And the thing that's bumming me out is like, does it matter? Like, are we like revamping this world? Is it going to matter in the future?
It doesn't matter.
But it seems like not previously announced. So I'm almost canceling out the guy Martian Manhunter, because he said he filmed scenes as Martian Manhunter, so I don't think it's going to be him because that was already announced.
I read, or I saw something. I didn't read the article, but was Ryan Reynolds approached for this?
So Ryan Reynolds explicitly said it isn't him.
But was he approached to be in this?
I have no
You
idea.
know, I
No,
thought
that I don't know.
Is he joking?
that would be a cool little cameo. To be honest with you, as much crap as he was given this, the Green Lantern, for him to show up in this, I think that would be a kicker.
He said something like, "No, it's not me. The suit's still in the closet," or he said more like the computer software is in the closet or something like that.
I could see him lying about that though.
Yeah, I don't think it would be him.
I don't specifically think it's him, but if it was him, I wouldn't be overly shocked. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean anything's possible at this point. Could it be Shazam? It's like, but I think he was saying it was a character we haven't seen before. So unless it's The Rock, like that would blow people's minds a little bit. Like I don't know if he was confirmed that long ago as the character.
Terry McGinnis, get your Batman Beyond ready.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see. It's fun to play that game, but I'm
gonna watch it. We'll do a review of it, I'm sure, as a segment.
Yeah, let us know who you guys think it's going to be. We're curious to know what other people think.
Cool.
All right, next up, we got a trailer for a new Disney movie, Cruella.
I think it's going to be. Is it a movie or is it going to be?
I think it's a movie on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I think.
I didn't see the trailer.
It looked pretty good, honestly. It's Emma Stone, right? Is playing a young Cruella, so it seems like she's like going up against like a former like fashion industry person who's kind of like who Cruella grows up to be, kind of thing. And it's like young. It seems like how she got to where she is. It looks good. Emma Stone looks great as her. She's got like that, yeah.
And I love Emma Thompson. She's also in it too, so which is pretty cool.
Oh, is she? I didn't realize she was.
Yeah, she plays the Baroness.
Oh, is that who that was? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's usually really good too. So that looks cool. I'm excited for that. Actually, I'm gonna see. Hopefully, my daughter will want to watch it. So
yeah,
she's a big 101 Dalmatian fan. So.
Oh, so am I. Good cartoon, right?
The cartoon and the movie. She likes the movie.
And let's not forget Mark Strong. Like that guy, I love Mark Strong. I mean, do you know who he is? I mean, he was in Shazam. He was awesome in The Kingsman.
He was awesome in what?
The Kingsman.
Yeah,
I just looked him up. I know who he is.
I love him.
He's like blown up ever since like that first Sherlock Holmes movie. I felt like after that movie, I saw him in like 5 straight movies after that.
Oh,
he's really good. I like his work.
Yeah, I'm excited. But we'll see. I haven't seen the trailer yet.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And then there's more stuff, right?
Yes, there was. There was another trailer for Mortal Kombat.
I'm curious what you guys thought about this.
I love the original. I like the original movie. I mean, what was it? 1986?
Before my time, for sure.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Like 95.
No. It was much older than that, right?
Nope, you're wrong.
Oh, all right. It feels it.
What'd you think of it, JJ, the trailer?
I liked it. But it looks
1995 on the button.
All right. See,
that's my one gift. Only superpower I have.
I'm too old. See, I remember it much later than that. I liked it. It looks bloody. It looks very violent. There's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I did think it looked good. It doesn't really have a lot of names in it, which I'm okay with if they do it well. I'm just worried is all the good stuff what we saw already is my concern, especially with movies like that, where it's like, oh, that was cool, but those were the 5 cool scenes in the movie, and the rest is like, eh. Yeah. So I'm excited. I do definitely want to watch it, but I'm also tempering my expectations.
I mean, that whole scene, the scene with Sub-Zero, that was a pretty long scene, and you're right. I mean, if that's like the only part, it sucks. And then that other guy, I don't know what his name was, but with the arms.
That's Jax. So he's actually the guy who played Jimmy Olsen in the Supergirl TV show.
So, I mean, they show how he lost his arms. Like, I didn't know that, but like, why would you show that in a trailer? Like, so we'll see. It looks good.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out.
Mm-hmm. We should temper our expectations more for everything.
It's hard with some stuff. It's hard.
I know.
I'm usually pretty good about that, though.
Yeah, I know. All right, so next up. So DC, been in the news a lot lately for the struggles that they've been having, but this is pretty funny, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. May sell to a couple of rich fans. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know what? It's hard. I've heard like a lot of rumors in secondhand. I didn't like do actual extensive research myself, but I saw a lot of people saying that apparently like Jimmy Palmiotti said something about like trying to buy like Power Girl like just on his own. Like maybe I hope they don't do it like piecemeal, like character by character.
That'd be weird.
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's really such a shame.
The notion of DC being sold just sounds weird. Like I get they have all the financial issues and stuff they've had and the questionable decisions, but it just seems weird.
I think they just need like a really good seasoned like CEO. Maybe the company I work for, they do something in that industry. Like maybe I could get them in there to.
There you go. There's your job for next week. Cleaning
stuff up. I can be interim CEO. It's fine. I'll take care of this. But yeah, I hope this is really just a rumor and a joke, and it's not has a lot of validity to it.
They should put it on Kickstarter.
DC.
Yeah. Give out positions as tiers.
Well, maybe they actually should do, and that's actually kind of a good idea, JJ. Not exactly saying like that, but maybe like instead of like launching all these like random titles and storylines, they should Kickstarter some of them, and then you'll really, fans will pay for them technically, but you'll actually get maybe more storylines people want. Like, hey, if you don't get it funded, then it's not coming out. So, I mean, it's not a terrible idea.
It's really not. That's funny. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, next up, this is very cool. So Danny Elfman, known for a couple movies like Beetlejuice, Batman '89, and my favorite, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Also, both Spider-Man movies.
And both Spider-Man movies.
From the 2000s.
Will be scoring Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness.
That's going to be cool. I really enjoy his work. Between him, John Williams and Hans Zimmer. Like, if I don't see one of those guys scoring a movie, I'm like, I mean, superhero, like Danny Elfman's like the guy. I mean, John Williams is, he's up there now, so you're really not going to see him much other than like, unless George Lucas gives him a call. But, he's been the guy. I mean, he scores the movie so well. I mean, like, they're iconic, like thinking about Batman and even the Spider-Man movies, Great. It's a funny thing that I read, he did not do Spider-Man 3 though. Apparently him and Sam Raimi had like a disagreement or something.
Oh man.
So maybe that spelled doom for that movie from the get-go.
Oh man.
Cool.
That's cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, totally. All right, next up, our boy Todd McFarlane has released a bunch of news over the last week. So first up, he confirmed apparently that Department of Truth is going to be turned into a TV show. And that book's been blowing up lately.
I've got a copy that I'm holding. So we're going to be doing a segment soon, and that might be a book that comes in one of those categories.
That's a good one.
So the independent stuff, I feel like that's, and we've said this so many times, it's anything that's really hot or that you're interested in, it's usually a good like entry level investment. Like, I don't think any of them have really blown up like substantially, right? Like, other than The Walking Dead, is any like 9.8 of like an Image One really worth like $1,000?
Not the Image stuff, no.
Yeah, I mean, but other stuff,
the pre-Image stuff, like the older independent,
of course,
stuff,
like the super rare stuff.
Yeah, but once you got to Image, the only reason Walking Dead 1 is so valuable is because the print one run was so low. Gotcha. And because it was black and white, and they thought nobody would want a black and white comic in 2007 or whenever that was, 2002.
But even at that though, there's some that'll get you like the $300 to $500 value. So I think it's a good
look at Saga. I mean,
Saga, Invincible, all those.
They're a good investment to stash, for a couple years. Even like, I mean, look at how soon this book's only up to like issue 5 or 6, and already we're getting a TV show. I mean, like we've said this so many times, a lot of these independent books are just like, practice runs for screenplays.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to make a couple $100 and maybe reinvest that into some Silver Age later.
Yeah, exactly. like some Spider-Man or something.
Oh yeah.
All right, more McFarlane. Spawn Universe. He's going to be launching 4 new titles in the Spawn Universe. The first one is called aptly Spawn's Universe. Second one is King Spawn. Then we have Gunslinger Spawn and The Scorched. So 4 new titles, ongoing series.
So did you guys actually watch the video he did, the announcement video that he did about these?
Mm-mm.
So I think he has like kind of bigger expectations on this than what this like is really saying. He's not just launching 4 more titles. He's almost launching like within Image. I think he's trying to launch like his own like line of comic books. So this is going to be like Spawn Universe, and he's really like, making this more like Spawn Universe is like DC Comics or Marvel Comics. I think he already, I think, has plans to making these into like live action productions and stuff like that. His vision for these is basically turning them into like an Avengers or Justice League kind of like group. So he's like, hey, I think he was like basically saying, he goes, either people are going to talk about, like how I, was groundbreaking on this, or how I like failed miserably. So we'll see. He's like, it's crazy that, people haven't really done something like this in like 60, 70 years, like trying to create like a universe. I mean, yeah, Image has like, storylines here or there, but not a lot of interconnectivity.
That's gonna be really cool to see if that gets big.
Yeah, I wish they do, because I think more competition breeds better comic books and better storylines.
Of course. All right, moving on. We got a couple of release date announcements from Disney. First one is that Bad Batch is going to be launching on May the 4th.
So excited for this.
Loki will be premiering on June 11th. I think that's right after Falcon and Winter Soldier ends. And then Spider-Man No Way Home will be out this Christmas. Not Phone Home. No Way Home.
Well, there was 3. Did you see all 3 of them?
It was Phone Home. I don't remember what the other one was.
Yeah, so Holland, Zendaya, and I forget the kid's name who plays Ned. Mm-hmm. They all posted something, but then I saw somebody put them together. So the colors they used were green, purple, and silver. And if you put them in order, like you get like the goblin colors on like the glider. I was like, that's a reach, but it should be interesting. I mean, this movie, I'm expecting like
a lot of rumors,
all out craziness. At this
my god!
point.
Yeah,
and this is his last Spider-Man movie, right? Under the contract.
I don't think so. I think he still has more.
I read an article. This was his last one.
They'll renew it, I'm sure. If it's up. They're not gonna get a kid that young and then not,
I may have to double check that, because I don't know. I think JJ's saying under Disney's umbrella, not his.
Right.
Yeah. I have to double check that, because I think when they renegotiated this, there was a couple more movies in there. Maybe not a solo, but I think he has like joint movies that are still under his contract. I have to look at it.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next up, a couple rumors in the casting world to finish up with. So we have the rumor that Jennifer Lawrence is going to be playing Sue Storm in the upcoming Fantastic Four project. TC's not happy about that, and neither am I. It's got to be Emily Blunt or nobody.
She's not. If it's not Emily Blunt and John Krasinski as Sue Storm and Reed Richards, don't do it.
Yeah,
just don't put them in the movie. That's it. Move on from the Fantastic Four. You're good. Mm-hmm. Those 2 are nothing. I've spoken on it.
I have spoken. And then the other one is that Aladdin actor Mena Massoud, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's apparently the front runner to play Ezra Bridger in the Ahsoka series.
He's got the look.
I guess he should have aged at this point, though, right? Is that?
But they can age.
He should be adultish, yeah.
No, but I'm saying like the last time we
Oh,
saw him, he was younger, right? So he should be around like this guy's age, right?
Yeah,
this guy's like probably like 20s somethings.
Yeah, Ezra was like 15 or something.
Yeah, it should be the right age.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Something randomly funny I came across, just going quickly back to the Sue Storm and Jennifer Lawrence thing. Have you guys ever seen they did this like behind the scenes like interview with her? I think it was like George Stephanopoulos or something, after she won the Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook. apparently like Jack Nicholson went up to her and he's like congratulating her. He's like, oh, you did and I remember watching this actually. You did a great job. He's like, I really enjoyed the movie. And he goes before he leaves, he goes, you actually remind me of an old girlfriend I had. And then she goes, oh, what about do I remind you of a new girlfriend? And he's like, oh, I thought about it. I was like, Jack Nicholson is the best.
Oh my god.
One of my favorite actors.
I've just
nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but I just had to throw that in.
That's funny.
In case people hadn't seen it. Before we move into our main topic, though, Toy Story, I want you to talk about that book behind you, though.
Oh, the red one over there?
Yeah, why don't you bring it over and tell people a little bit about that?
Sure. So, this is, and I realized the first time I talked about it, I got the pronunciation wrong. It's Cerebus, the aardvark.
What were you calling it?
Cerebus. I don't, because I thought cerebral.
Oh, I thought you were saying Cerebus. Okay.
Yeah, but it's Cerebus, the aardvark. So, published by Dave Sim, 1977. So this had a print run of 2,000, and this is an 8.0 signed by him. But if you could see the sides, there's a ton of ticks on the side. Every single copy, except for like 10, came like that. All 10 of which he kept.
Is that the same guy?
You got that. Oh my god.
Midtown Comics had one copy.
Oh my god, I got Royal to save one for me. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Same guy, right? All right.
That's funny. So this book is incredibly hard to find. Number 1 in any grade. Number 2, this high. Yeah. I got very lucky with where I got this, but every copy's been wiped off of eBay in the last couple months. You can't find one anywhere. And a 9.4 blue label just sold for $30,000 on Comic Link the other night.
It's crazy.
So I think I picked this up at the right time.
To be fair, anybody who shops on Comic Link overpays, so don't feel too bad.
I mean, that's true. But this is really cool because this is I think one of, if not the first, actually self-published comic books. Completely,
really?
Yeah, completely self-published, independently published without any help. And this guy, Dave Sim, back in the early days, was a huge proponent for independent stuff. He pushed, he inspired Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman to release TMNT. He inspired all those, Albedo and all those 80s independent books.
So he was very groundbreaking in that respect.
Yeah, so it's a really cool book to have. I just think it's a cool cover too.
And I think you were also telling us too that it's a very highly counterfeited book too, right?
Yeah, heavily. So the counterfeit's really good too. You have to look really closely, but a lot of people send these into CGC and they get the counterfeit thing. Yeah, which is strange. We were talking about that before.
So a little PSA out there, guys. If you do find any raw out there, be very careful. Do your research on how to spot the fakes, and maybe might be a book where I'd say be safe and go the graded.
He's actually funny. If you bring it to sign to him, he won't sign the counterfeits. So he'll take the book and he'll be like, all right, let's check if this is real or not. And he'll show you all the little.
That's cool. Good for him. I wouldn't sign the counterfeits either. I won't get into it now, but I don't even think they should grade the counterfeits.
No, they shouldn't. Yeah.
I know they have been, but.
And those counterfeits still go for a lot of money.
Some of them do. This one does. It's crazy.
Yeah, we saw one for like $1,500 selling, right?
Yeah, it's nuts.
For a fake book.
But this is cool because there's only 22 signature series on the census. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I think half of them are file copies. So this is a copy that someone actually got from the store and then took to sign to him. The other ones, the file copies, were the Dave Sims, that he then signed and sent to CGC himself.
What's the highest grade out there of that book?
9.4, the one that just sold. Yeah.
Cool.
I think there's one graded 9.6, but it's never been put up for sale.
Wow.
So crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe we'll do a little independent episode one day.
Yeah, we got something in the works. All right, so that wraps up the Geek Beat for this episode. We're gonna move into our main topic next, which is our spotlight on the characters of WandaVision.
Yes.
So I guess we should pretty much start it off, and I'm gonna try to go through this as quickly as possible without making it
be cognizant of our time goals.
Yeah, and we want to make it interesting too. So I definitely encourage you guys jumping in at any point.
Yeah. So essentially, we all picked a couple characters to go through. We looked at their backstories, so we're going to talk a little bit about them.
And on my end, there were a decent amount of characters that kind of linked. So we're going to start with Wanda. Obviously, she's the main title character. There are a lot of like rumblings of these different characters, coming about, and I'll throw a couple of them in there just so you guys know, because there are a few that I do think are characters that aren't being talked about for spec who should be considered. And I'll get into that as we go. So I'm just going to get off into the running of it. So Wanda Maximoff, also known as Scarlet Witch, she was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Her first appearance, X-Men 4, for those of you who don't know, that was from 1964. And she is the twin sister of Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff. She is also the ex-wife of. So this is all the comic book knowledge we're going to give you guys. We're not talking about how they portray in the MCU. We're talking about what all the information that the MCU is taking and putting into these shows. So she is currently the ex-wife of Vision in comic books.
Is she really?
Yes, they are no longer married. She was the mother to Tommy and Billy Maximoff, now deceased. I won't get too much into that because JJ is going to go into further about the Maximoffs, the kids. So this is the really interesting part, guys. So she was once believed to be the mutant daughter of Magneto, but apparently she's not anymore. And it's very muddled. So it seems that whenever they were like deciding to use these characters for like the movies, like they came to some type of agreement with Fox that they could both use them.
Oh, is that why? Because he's not. There's a gray area about her being his kids.
There's a gray area about them being mutants.
Oh.
So it was they kind of did a slick thing and they retconned it in the comics. So they were like, Fox, hey, look, it's in the comics. She's not. She might not be a mutant. So she was in the Avengers. She's related to in some X-Men books.
So is she? So in the comics, she's a mutant or no?
So for a long time, she was believed to be. So the problem is, I feel like they're retconning back now. So I think they were trying to decimate all X-Men stuff in the comic books for a while, and they basically did that on purpose to really hurt to hurt Fox for owning these. So I think they're going to kind of backtrack that now, because what I was reading is, so someone eventually told her and Quicksilver that Magneto wasn't their father and they weren't mutants. But Magneto apparently still doesn't believe that that's true. He still believes he's their actual father. So they don't even have, like, on the research listed, even though they no longer say he's their father, they don't say who their father is. So it could be changed again. I don't know.
Interesting.
There was so the story that they're going with now, I guess, is that they were experimented on by somebody as infants by somebody called the High Evolutionary. This guy's name is also Herbert Edgar. His first appearance, and guys, listen up, the first appearance of this guy was Thor 134. He was apparently unhappy with his results of like his experimentations and returned them to like the family that like they knew who like raised them, and he disguised them as mutants is what they're going with. So after an attack on like their camp, and I guess like whoever was like, their acting father was like stealing. So they got like run out of this town. Apparently Pietro ran them away to, I don't know, using his super speed, just him and his sister. And like leaving their family was so traumatic. They couldn't like even remember, their childhood until like later in adulthood. It was weird. But I guess later on she accidentally sets fire to this village. And like they're like all these villagers are getting ready to attack her, and Magneto comes and saves her. And for those of you who don't know who Magneto is, you can find out all about him in X-Men #1. So she kind of feels indebted to Magneto. So she and Quicksilver join the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and that's their first appearance where you see them joining them in X-Men #4. She eventually, like both of them, like I think more so her than her brother, because anything you know about her brother, Quicksilver in the comic books, he's kind of like douchey. He's almost like on the level of like Namor, kind of. At moments, he's very self-involved and like arrogant, but he's very protective of his sister. He's like very he's always like has his
has her back and stuff like that.
Always worried about his family and stuff like that. So they eventually Magneto's trying to kill the X-Men, and they're very against killing anyone. So they leave Magneto, and they eventually join the Avengers. So they officially become Avengers now write this down, everyone. Avengers number 16. They both become Avengers officially in that book. Them as well as Hawkeye and I think someone else. I can't remember who that is. And that's when their kind of story gets really interesting. They were really kind of ancillary characters in the X-Men books. Their like growth really happens in the X-Men. In the Avengers. So this is the part where I think a lot of people are specking on, and I think it was the last time it was Gary was the first person to do this. Chthon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this is the guy everyone's specking is behind everything. Chthon is the one who's controlling Agatha Harkness. And just so you know, guys, we are an episode behind. So the episode that just came out Friday, we're recording this Thursday before. So we don't know what happened. We don't know what's been revealed. We're either right or wrong. So I guess we'll find out. But so this guy, Chthon, he first appears in a book called Marvel Chillers #1. But he's not referred to as Chthon in this book. He's referred to as the Other. He's only referred to as Chthon for the first time in this book called Avengers 186. And who he is basically is one of the most powerful elder gods of Earth. He's degenerated into like a demonic state. So I didn't read too much into him. I was just trying to get you guys like the highlights, but he's a master of black and chaos magic. And according to what I've read, his manipulation of Wanda is what really transforms her into being like an energy manipulator and moving her more towards like an actual sorceress and magic wielder. So I guess we'll see what happens in terms on that front. But also what happens in the Avengers, she does marry Vision. It seems that she only does that though because there's this other character, and so Chthon's just one of the people I'm finding out that this could be. I mean, there are a lot of hints pointing towards him, but I did see a lot of hints pointing towards other people too. So there's this guy Immortus. He first appears in Avengers number 10, and he's a time traveler who was born in like the 30th century. He has alleged descendant relationships to Reed Richards and Sue Richards to Dr. Doom as well. So like maybe one of their kids way down the line, got together. But I guess Immortus like forced her and Vision together because he was afraid that if she had an actual child, this child could be like one of the most powerful beings in history that could like shake the foundations of the universe. So that's why he wanted her with Vision, to ensure that she didn't have any real children. But she eventually, again, like, JJ is going to go further into this, but she eventually like creates these children. But it was later revealed again that, and I'm sure JJ is going to go into this, that it was actually, they came from Mephisto. But so she like goes crazy after she like loses these kids. And so she gets so I'm really curious to hear about Agatha Harkness more. Toy Story, that's the character you covered, right?
So you want me to go next?
So I have like a few more points, and then we'll jump into it later. But she's, from the research I read, she doesn't necessarily seem like an evil character. So it's kind of weird, but I want to hear more about it, like when it's your character turn. But she basically makes her forget that she had the children. Like after like that whole, she loses the kids thing. So she goes off. She joins like the West Coast Avengers. Doesn't remember any of this till years later. So this is another character who I know there's been an Easter egg for. When she's with the West Coast Avengers, she winds up falling in love with Wonder Man. Wonder Man first appears in Avengers number 9. He gets his powers from these like ionic rays or some nonsense. And he apparently was partially used to give like the brain waves or thought patterns to Vision, like part of his mind, which is really weird. But like, I never heard of that before. That was the first time I heard of that. But sorry, I lost my place. So then that happens. And then like, she kind of just bounces around for a little while. Nothing really big happens until House of M. So House of M is her biggest storyline in comic books by far. A lot of the inspiration for WandaVision comes from House of M. She got interviewed during Age of Ultron, asked like if there was a Wanda story she would ever wanted to do, and she said 100% House of M, but it will never happen. But it seems like it's kind of happening now. So that's a big storyline. She basically, I guess they were like, she like goes crazy at some point, and Magneto, Professor X, the Avengers are all deciding like how they should deal with her, and they're basically almost all coming to the decision that they should kill her. And her brother, Pietro, basically says, no, use your powers, alter reality, sync up with Professor Xavier and create this like, alternate reality. So he was really the reason that they did that. So it was really interesting. They kind of changed reality completely to make it like this mutant run world where like the minority of people are humans and majority are all mutants. Everybody's relatively happy, but then a few people slowly start realizing it's not real, and then everything goes haywire. But at the end is where she decimates the mutants, says no more mutants, right? So for those of you who aren't familiar with that storyline, definitely read it, especially if you're enjoying the show. And it's interesting too, because I feel like within the show, there's going to be a moment like that, right? Like there's going to be like, I don't necessarily think it's going to be no more mutants, but what if she says, like, what if she makes it like, we need mutants or something like that, or like give the people power. Imagine she just like randomly gives like a S-ton of people powers, and that's how like all these mutants come around if she flips it the other way.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, as I was doing this research, all these like crazy theories are like popping into my head.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but so post House of M, she like loses her memories and her powers at one point. She's at one point she's engaged to Dr. Doom. So for those of you who don't know who he is, check out Fantastic Four #5. And I'm going to be honest with you, at this point, like into my research, I'm almost specking that we're going to see Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is going to be the character that we see in this.
In this?
That's who I'm specking at this point.
Interesting.
And I'm going to tell you why. So my side note here on this is, so that book in WandaVision so I know people are saying it's a Darkhold, but what it could also be is this book called the Book of Cagliostro.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. So who Cagliostro was, and this guy first appears in Dracula Lives Volume 2, #1 in 1973. He was a mage that like ruled over India like area in like approximately 1000 AD, but he taught, and he's the only person to teach magic to Dr. Doom while he was time traveling. He taught him like magical secrets. And this guy wound up finding the Darkhold. So the Darkhold, and this is why a lot of people are speculating that's Chthon. The Darkhold was a book created by Chthon. So it has like all his magical things. Someone eventually like put it into a book, like a lot of his secrets. I don't think he put it in book form, but all of that information comes from him. Maybe in the show it winds up being Agatha Harkness, who actually put it in book form. But this guy actually created his own book called, this Book of Cagliostro. It was just a combination of the magic that he learned, the magic from the Darkhold, and like ideas he learned from Dr. Doom. So, and another interesting point about this guy, Cagliostro, who I think we're going to see for sure after all this information I looked, he at one point runs into the Monica Rambeau version of Captain Marvel when she randomly time travels to like the 1700s. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I know I spent a lot of time on Wanda, but being that she is the main character,
a little longer is fine.
I had to. I am going to touch on the other two guys that I had really quickly. So Quicksilver, almost all this stuff happens with Wanda when Quicksilver's there. I mean, he also appears in X-Men #4. The most notable thing that's hasn't been mentioned yet, he was married to Crystal. She's the sister of Medusa of the Inhumans. They had a kid together called Luna, and it was shortly after the birth of Luna that Wanda and Pietro discover that they're Magneto's daughter, son and daughter. So it's a muddled point, like I said, again in the comics at this point. But and again, Pietro was the one who kind of pushed Wanda to do the House of M stuff. So he's really like, his stuff's very much background to hers, and he's again kind of like,
he's not at the forefront of a lot.
A douchey character at times too. So I don't think he's like ever had like his own book or anything like that. So I wasn't going to focus too much more on him because it's just, I think we'll see more. I don't know where they're going with his character exactly, but I think that's probably the most interesting thing. So just to touch on Vision real quickly, for those of you guys who don't know, Vision's first appearance is in Avengers 57 from 1968. He was, like the MCU suggests, he was created by Ultron in the comics. But for those of you who don't know this, Ultron was not created by Tony Stark, nor was he created by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. He was created by Hank Pym, the guy who Michael Douglas portrays in the movie. So if any of you don't know that,
that's what it is.
now you know it now.
Yeah.
But so it was interesting. So I didn't know anything about how he was created. So I'm just going to touch on that. He was created using these things called Horton cells, and along with this thing called a solar gem. And these were parts that Ultron stole. He basically forced the guy who created the World War II original Human Torch to create Vision. So I thought that was interesting. There was a lot of like different storylines with Vision. I feel like Vision hasn't gotten a lot of love. I know he had that one really well received storyline,
the Marvel Now series. That was awesome.
The Vision one. I heard it was good, but it wasn't like, nothing like really big happened or groundbreaking. It was just kind of like a random,
good mini stories. Yeah,
good story. Yeah,
yep, exactly.
So again, like effects on Wanda's really the one out of all of, at least from my three characters, who's had a big effect on Marvel comic books.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. I'm going to take a break. I'll only ask questions for your guys' stuff now. And sorry I took all that time with Wanda, but
no, she's the main character. You got it.
Yeah, I guess it made sense a little bit.
JJ, you want to alternate? I could go with.
I'll start off with the kids because I can't compete with what he went through. That was good. TC. That was.
I did spend it did take me about 3 to 4 hours of research.
That was like a dissertation on Wanda Maximoff.
So I was like, oh God! I was like, why is there so much information?
Don't expect that much from me. But
I will ask questions though.
That's fine. I got the twins. This would be Wiccan and Speed. They're supposedly the sons of the Scarlet Witch and Vision. Their first appearance as babies was the Vision and Scarlet Witch, Volume 2, number 12. They were born in 1986. I wish I had a little bit of time to read the books that these guys were in, because I think it would have given me a lot more knowledge than just searching for these guys.
So did they have powers when they were babies, or were they just...
They did not have powers at the time. So their whole thing. So again, they were supposedly the twins, born to Scarlet Witch and Vision. But in reality, like, TC said, Scarlet Witch went into this whole reality warping. So she created these twins, but at some point, you know, it all has to do, I guess, with Mephisto and the soul fragments. And two of those soul fragments were basically these twins.
Yeah.
And at some point in the comic books, you know, he got them, absorbed them back into himself, and basically it had destroyed the two kids. And they were reincarnated. Their souls were reincarnated into two other kids.
Yeah.
So we've got William Maximoff, and then we've also got Billy Maximoff. That's who, you know, the kids were with Scarlet and Vision. After the whole reincarnation, they were basically born to other parents. So William was now William Kaplan, and the other guy, Billy Kaplan too? No, Thomas Shepard. So he went from Thomas Maximoff to Thomas Shepard, and the other guy was, like I said, William Kaplan. So it's a weird.
Such a Marvel move.
So we got two different types of kids here. So Billy, who's Wiccan, he's got sorcerer powers. He gets them from his mutant biology. So I'm not sure if that's changing. Don't know. He can alter reality at a fundamental level, and he can fly, he can teleport, he can use fire as energy blasts. So he's got a lot of power. I'd like to see how much power he's going to get in the show. Because in the comic books, I don't know because I didn't read the books yet. I put this on my reading list because I'm actually quite interested. He's had no formal training, so you know his powers are kind of like all over the place apparently in the comic books.
So it is though the same powers as they are portrayed as in the show.
Yes. What was cool about him though, so from my understanding, so his first appearance as Wiccan was 2005 Young Avengers #1, and
which is a hot book right now for a lot of reasons.
Yes,
right?
it is.
What I liked about this was, you know, the pictures that I saw of him. So he had was it him? He had a code name. His code name was Asgardian. So his whole costume was very Thor-like Asgardian. I'm not sure. I'd like to understand why that came to be. I think he was more into that. I'm not sure, that culture. So he had, you know, the red cloak. He had the wings on a hat. He had I'm not sure what Thor calls them, but you know those round circular things on his chest. So he had a very Asgardian look to him, and that's what he went by in the very beginning of the Young Avengers, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Interesting.
So there we go, Asgardian.
Nice.
Who's the other guy? So
Speed.
Tommy Maximoff. Same thing, sold everything else.
Tommy.
Tommy is
he's the guy. He's the
speed guy. Same thing. He kind of appeared. His first appearance was Young Avengers #10. He joined the Young Avengers. So Billy was a founding member of the Young Avengers. Tommy came in a little bit afterwards. He can run at supersonic speed, break sound barriers. He's got enhanced strength and durability, so I guess he can take a lot. And he can make things explode from the kinetic energy when he's running really fast. So if he touches something, he can make it explode, which was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
He joined the Young Avengers with Kate Bishop. So it would be pretty cool if he shows up in the Kate Bishop.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or at some point.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then the other thing on Tommy was one of his big events later in life was he did marry his best friend. So I think it was the first gay marriage in comic books.
Really?
So he married Hulkling, which I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah, I know a little about Hulkling. He's interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, it was I think it was the first, you know, LGB
QT
book. Yeah, QT book. It was. I remember the book being up on the shelf. There was a lot of copies, and it sold out. It took a lot of press. but he was the first gay marriage in a comic book, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Cool. I know there was another one too, like 2 X-Men guys too, like North Star or something like that.
The snow is
was that later though?
Was it Iceman also?
Yeah, Iceman came out later, but
it wasn't early on.
Yeah, I think this was like more like mid 2000s.
Okay.
So
interesting though.
So just to let you know, so Hulkling he's a shapeshifter Kree hybrid. He was I guess his underage super. Oh yeah, no, that was it. So yeah, I mean he's a Kree.
That's cool. So it should be interesting which route they go. Like, do these guys get reabsorbed, or are they Wiccan and Speed already?
Yeah. I think it's going to be especially for Disney, it's going to be a tough sell to kill off 2 kids.
That's why they let them get a little.
I'm curious to see how they're going to play this because I don't see them killing off 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, they'll get reabsorbed, but you'll see them if they get reabsorbed, it's going to happen soon. Like maybe it already happened. That's why we don't see them. Why we didn't see them last episode.
Maybe.
And maybe when we see them again, they're going to be older teens or something like that. Late teens.
Yeah.
Kind of like Young Avenger age already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to be setting the stage for Young Avengers already.
Yeah.
You got to think about this 3 that we know of. I mean, Hulkling may show up in She-Hulk for all we know.
That's true. The other. So just so you guys know, so the other founding members of the Young Avengers. So we had the Hulkling, we had Wiccan, we got this guy called Patriot. He's a super soldier. He's the grandson of the original Captain America test subject, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
He, I think he's already been confirmed for Falcon and Winter Soldier too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then we had then we had the time traveling Iron Lad. And that's it. So it's. I'd like to see the Young Avengers, and maybe we'll see these guys all together.
Yeah. I think he might have been that Iron Lad. Might have been related to one of these characters I mentioned earlier too. I randomly recall seeing something like that. It was hard to read like 35 pages of different comic book research, but I do randomly recall seeing that name. So it's interesting.
You can see,
but it's cool that it seems like we already have the Young Avengers.
Yeah, right.
And you got somebody else who can show up in this Hawkeye show. So
That's
I mean,
true.
If you think about it, it's just like the Avenger movies. Everything's kind of coming together, and I think eventually at some point you're going to see all these connect.
Oh, 100%.
They're going to branch out like crazy and connect everything.
I mean, this is the greatest way to do it too. So this is actually. So I think at least this is how I interpret what they're doing. So they're basically instead of doing these solo movies, they're doing these shows, which allow you to introduce the characters at more depth, and then bam, you'll get a Young Avengers movie, and or you'll get this this other movie. This is going to set up. It's not just going to set up Young Avengers. This is also setting up Doctor Strange 2 and all these really heavy hitter movies.
Because now, in the movies, I mean, we've already had a taste of Wanda. We've had a taste of Vision. We know their backstories through the movies. We don't know the backstories of the other guys. So I think this is an area where you're giving the viewers a little backstory of who these people are. And then, we'll be able to get more of them later in these other shows.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, Toy Story, are you ready?
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm going to start with Agatha because she was the most intriguing to me. I think to everybody especially after the last episode. So you guys hit the nail on the head with the stuff that she was doing with Scarlet Witch and Mephisto and stuff. But before that, so she was introduced in Fantastic Four number 94. So a bit later on. And she's portrayed in the show she's introduced, and if you don't know anything about her, you think she's a villain, right? It's abundantly clear that she's trying to pull strings, for her own something that she has planned going on. But what actually happened in the Fantastic Four? So Reed and Sue had a baby, Franklin, their son, and they bring them to Agatha, who lives in this giant ominous mansion up on a hill. And she's what they call a child rearing expert. So she's like a nanny, essentially, an expert at raising kids. So they bring
the super nanny, right?
So they bring their son Franklin to her to, meet with her and get him, get advice for raising him, or whatever. So the Fantastic Four spend the night in the mansion, and essentially what happens is the Frightful Four, the antithesis of Fantastic
Medusa's in the Frightful Four. Well, not at that point, I don't think.
I looked up the Frightful Four. There's a long list of members.
Yeah. She was in the first appearance of the Frightful Four.
Yeah. So the Frightful Four attack the Fantastic Four at Agatha's mansion. So there's a big battle, and then the Fantastic Four are knocked out and stuff. And when they wake up, Agatha defeated all of them, all the Frightful Four. And when they wake up, they find her, sitting, cradling the Franklin in her arms in the chair. So she demolished everybody in that book, along with her cat, Ebony, who is this little black cat that actually later on, I think, transforms into this giant panther. So it's a little like magical side.
Bunny is?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Who knows? Yeah. So they find Agatha rocking their child to sleep, and she essentially becomes Franklin's nanny and almost raises him throughout his life. So it's really interesting, like how she started there versus how they kind of portray her in the comic in WandaVision. Yeah,
it's definitely really interesting. I didn't get that. I didn't know that at all. I thought she started off bad and then maybe came to be like on the side of good. Like it seems like it doesn't seem like she's 100% evil either. Like I did get the impression that Wanda was partially controlling her. Like I was totally blown away by the fact that when she faked that
when she was in the car with
Vision actually turned her mind back on, and she's like I was like, oh, I did not see that.
Awesome.
They got me good with that one,
but she was actually before this. It's shown in her origin, but she's a witch, obviously.
Yeah,
and she was actually one of the witches during the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts in the 17th century. She had her own witches' coven back then, and she was persecuted during the trials and everything, and she was burned at the stake. But as Marvel characters do, especially magical Marvel characters, you come back to life a few times. That's what happened there. But she's a legit witch. Her powers are completely magical. Teleportation, thought casting, illusion casting, energy production. Anything you think of that's textbook magic is she does. So it's no real superpowers. It's strictly magic.
That's cool.
So she essentially becomes like a mentor to Wanda in the comics and teaches her a lot of magical stuff. And it does mirror a lot of what we see in WandaVision, kind of, because she's kind of like a little bit of a mentor to Wanda, throughout the show. Not magical whatsoever, but just kind of guiding her through things, right?
Yeah, it's hard now because you don't know her intentions.
Exactly.
So anybody who's listening to this at this point, we probably should have done a spoiler alert, because this is anybody who doesn't read comic books, this could be spoilers. So they're totally playing up that she could be the villain at this point, but maybe she's not. Maybe she's even being controlled. Which
totally could be.
It could be Chthon or whatever his name is. I still want to see who her husband is. I want to know who the Stan guy is.
Yeah, Stan.
I feel like that's gonna be the guy. Whoever gets revealed, it's gonna be Stan. So maybe Stan, Satan, Mephisto. I don't know. I know Mr. Silver Surfer 3 down here is really hoping it's Mephisto, but
yeah, so Mephisto. If he comes on, that'd be awesome. I mean, it's from what you guys were saying too about Mephisto and being involved with Wanda and her kids and stuff. I mean, as you said, so the kids are supposed to be fragments of Mephisto's soul.
Yeah.
And what happens in the books is he reabsorbs them. And when that happens, obviously Wanda's, going crazy. But Agatha mind wiped her so that she wouldn't remember anything.
Right.
Because, obviously she was going crazy.
Yeah.
And so she goes on for a while not knowing that she even had kids. But she eventually finds out later on, and she finds out that Agatha's the one who wiped her mind. And so she confronts Agatha about this. This is in the Avengers Disassembled, I think.
Yeah, I did read that. Yep.
Yeah.
I was trying not to get too much on the Agatha stuff when I was talking.
Yeah, so Avengers Disassembled, she confronts Agatha, questions her about their existence and stuff, and basically what happens is at the end of that issue, it cuts to Nick Fury walking into Agatha's house and seeing her dead corpse. So heavily implied what happened.
Huh.
Yeah, crazy.
So I mean, so right after that, so this is after that point was when, like, right before House of M starts, because at that they realized how powerful Wanda really is, and so you got to realize at this point, Professor X, the Avengers, and Magneto, who's at this point still her father, are all seriously considering killing her as like the only solution for stopping like her level of power.
Yep.
So this is like a whole Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix type of thing.
Very similar. Very. I was thinking the same thing, JJ. It's crazy. Like I think she's on her power level like that without like the Phoenix, like whatever the Phoenix entity controlling her. She's just naturally powerful. She might be maybe the most powerful person in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, gotta be.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's basically Agatha. She comes back in all new, all different Marvel, that 2013 thing, rebranding.
Yeah,
she goes through that, but she basically her and Wanda interact, and she confirms that she did wipe her mind and everything. Wanda tells her she killed her, and that's when everybody finds out. But then she's essentially she's a ghost. She still helps, she's still not a villain. She helps out everybody, but obviously, as Marvel fashion, comes back to life eventually. So,
of course, it's funny too. When I was researching her, I also saw that like it wasn't clear whether it was actually Agatha or if it was like a projection of like Scarlet Witch's mind, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, all the Scarlet Witch's powers are so interesting. I know we keep getting back to her, but how she's able to bend reality and everything.
I couldn't even go into the
it makes it tougher to follow.
All I read about her was half the page. The other half of these pages that I was reading, and this is I apologize, not a page. It's like 7 pages I read just on her backstory. The other 7 pages was listing out all the different types of powers she has. I was like, well, I'm not reading and getting into that. But it was pretty interesting that they were saying without the Sky Chthon's influence on her, she would not have been like as powerful and like magically enhanced as she becomes. So is that why she's really stepping up even more now? Like why she's able to block out an entire block and expand it?
Yeah.
I mean, she did. So in the House of M, she does that. It's not just her. She's also using Professor X. So she's taken control of Professor X to project a lot of these things into people's minds. So it's interesting. It's so crazy right now because this huge character that hasn't appeared yet, who Paul Bettany said. So from what Paul Bettany said, he said this is a major character he's always wanted to work with, and he has not appeared in the Marvel Universe yet. So, I mean, like I was thinking, it could be Doctor Doom. I mean, I really don't see it as a hero. Like at this point, like I don't think it's going to be a hero.
No.
So you've seen Doctor Doom has already been in the Fox world. You wouldn't consider that?
What do you mean? No. He's talking about Marvel. Yeah, that doesn't count. I don't think. Yeah, because people are like, oh, is it Doctor Strange? He goes, no. He already specifically said it's not Doctor Strange, and I think he also canceled out Tony Stark too. Like it's someone you haven't seen, and it's like it's a new character to Marvel. I don't know if he said specifically Marvel, but he said it's a new character. I mean, but before we go into that, let's go into Monica Rambeau because I know that's the character, right?
Yeah, let's talk about her a little bit. So Monica Rambeau, first appearance for you He Hunters, Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16. 9/8 are going for crazy money right now, so try and pick one up if you can for cheap. But October 1982 by Roger Stern and John Romita created her. She was introduced as the second
beautiful cover, by the way.
Yeah, amazing cover.
Yeah,
the pink cover, it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like paints.
Yeah, so she was introduced as the second Captain Marvel, and she gained her powers after being bombarded by extra-dimensional energy, similar to in WandaVision. But in this case, she was trying to prevent the creation of this big, dangerous super weapon, this energy disruptor. And so she was exposed to the energy while she was trying to, save the day there, and gave her similar powers to what she has in WandaVision. So similar source, but, so because in the show she got it through the Wanda's giant force field.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so she got all those powers, in the media, in the not the real media, but the comic book media in the stories dubbed her Captain Marvel after that. So yeah, she could basically transform herself into any form of energy. So like cosmic rays, X-rays, ultraviolet. So she could what's cool is she could essentially make herself invisible whenever she wants, because she could transform into invisible rays of energy.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that makes sense how she can probably go through the wall.
I think she can transform into visible light too. I thought I read that she couldn't, but microwaves, radio waves, literally anything. It's crazy. And so when she transforms, she becomes completely intangible. Like she completely transforms into these forms of energy, and she could switch on a whim.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Mm-hmm. So she's essentially immortal too. Like she stays at her prime forever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So when she got her powers, she sought out help from the Avengers in like harnessing her powers and learning how to work with them. And Cap and the Wasp actually kind of took her under their wing and trained her. And she eventually ended up replacing the Wasp as leader of the Avengers for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she was leader of the Avengers for like 5 years on Roger Stern's run of Avengers in the 200s. So yeah, she was very powerful while she was in the Avengers. And at one point, because every superhero has to lose their powers at some point, of course. She's in this battle against this giant sea monster called Leviathan. And what she did was she transformed herself.
Leviathan.
Yeah, she transformed herself into this giant bolt of lightning, which she could do no problem, and trying to hit him to defeat it. But she missed and made contact with the water, and essentially conducted herself, across the entire surface of the ocean. And her atoms were split apart, so far, and were so scattered that she was barely able to regain her physical form. And so when she did, she was extremely frail and old-looking, and lost all her powers for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, she gained them back, but
is that when she became Pulsar?
Yeah. So she started out as Captain Marvel, and then she became Photon later on. And I thought there was going to be a cool, backstory to that name, but it turns out that Genis Vell, do you guys know this character?
No.
So he became Captain Marvel also. He was Captain Marvel, but he decided to create a new alias under the name Photon. And so
they switched.
Actually. So Rambeau confronted him, but she decided to let him keep the Photon name, and then she came up with the name Pulsar.
Pulsar, which is in New Thunderbolts number 9, 2004.
So they were both essentially Captain Marvel and Photon at one point. It's very weird. I don't know why they did that.
And she has a different name now too.
And
right?
she becomes Spectrum in the Mighty Avengers number 1 in 2013.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So Photon first appearance is Avengers Unplugged number 5, 1996, and Pulsar's is New Thunderbolts number 9, 2005. For you collectors out there.
There you go.
Yeah, lots of identity changes. Most pointless, I feel, but we got to rebrand, I guess.
I did the same thing with the teams because she was part of the Ultimates. Then she became the next wave leader. And
she was also the first African American member of the Avengers.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. That's cool.
So that is mine.
I do have a question for you though. So she specifically expressed, the actress who plays her, that she would love to see this Adam the Blue Marvel that people are going crazy for the book in it. So I know everyone's specking very hard that they have a relationship in the comic book, right? The two of them?
Her and Blue Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look too deep into that, but yeah.
So his background seems to suggest he could be this engineer they're talking about.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. That book has shot up.
Yeah. Oh, but that book was always. I remember, in the beginning of last year, that book was kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Like when we first started doing these live sales in March, or April, that book was already $1,100 in a 9.8.
I think he might have been one of the ones to help Monica regain her powers back after she lost them, because he's this crazy molecular engineer.
Maybe that happens.
Maybe
at the end, her and Wanda throw down. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good stuff, guys. So I listen, we hope you guys found that interesting. We tried to make it as interesting as possible, to give you guys kind of a background on like all this stuff and all the, it's one thing to tell you, oh, this is the first appearance, buy this book. It's another thing of giving you the information that it goes along with.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're trying to do here to stand out a little bit. And which I kind of wanted to learn about all these characters too, and it made it easier by each one of us.
Yeah, it was great.
Instead of all of us doing.
I think we all saw some of these characters, and we're like, "Who's this? Who's Agatha?"
I tell you what, I really hope Mephisto shows up in this because
he's cool. Have you guys ever read his stuff?
I was reading his Wikipedia, and this guy is hardcore evil.
Yeah. So cool.
I didn't realize he's the creator of Ghost Rider and just this guy's scary.
Yeah, he's a bad.
His name is based off of Mephistopheles, which is a demon in German folklore. For those of you that don't know.
Yeah. I mean, woo. Wow, I want to see him. I want
him in the show so my book stays valuable. But I bought the book because I like him. I really hope he's in it.
I want to see how he's portrayed. Visually, because
that would be so cool.
This is scary stuff.
Yeah, there's little Easter eggs in there that are pointing to him. So
scary.
There seems to be so many Easter eggs pointing to so many different things.
I know.
And what's nice about him, he's part of a huge world. I mean, we're talking Ghost Rider, we're talking Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Thor. I mean, he's got a hand in everything.
Yeah.
It's
he could potentially be the one that erases everybody's memory that he's Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things he did, I guess, in the timeline. He erased it
after Civil War
because he was a little annoyed that they were happy. That's cool. Let's throw that.
So this is a weird thing, and it was bothering me, and I think they only recently told you this, was that so he agrees to end his marriage with Mary Jane in order to save Aunt May and for everyone to no longer remember he's Spider-Man. I know this is going completely off topic,
totally,
but I guess Mary Jane made one condition that she wants to remember everything. She doesn't want her mind wiped. She's like, I want to remember everything. And they don't tell you because she whispers something to him, but you don't see. They just make it little blurry lines. Yeah. And then you didn't find out till I think a couple of years ago that she said, I want to remember everything.
What did Mary Jane really say to Mephisto? That's what this article's called that I just Googled.
Yeah.
I want to see him up on the screen. I mean, he's
awesome.
From what I read, it's a scary dude.
I think they're gonna have Tim Curry just by him in that devil-looking costume.
But, I think wasn't there word that they were going to do more Ghost Rider? It makes sense. Bring this.
I think
he can rap. I mean,
do everything.
Oh,
Jim! Now that they own that, everything's coming. Everything's coming. I mean, I didn't expect to see Blade this soon, honestly. No. But Blade just opens the door to all those street level characters and.
I know everybody's saying who's the big villain for the next phase, but we're at the point you don't need just one villain. They're not going to do just one big villain.
I mean, I still think they'll probably stick to that formula. But
they're going to have an overarching thing, but they'll still have stuff in there like they've been.
Yeah, I totally think you're going to have other people. It's hard to top how do you do Doctor Doom and Magneto and these are key. I mean, Marvel has some of the biggest villains in history. I mean, obviously we know DC, the Joker, and
not as big as Marvel though.
It's been done too.
Yeah, the Joker is really the cream of the crop for them. There's nobody who really competes, at least in my mind, who's on that level of bad. I feel like Marvel's got a lot.
I think Galactus is going to be big. I hope.
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, Dr. Doom team up with
it's got to be those kind.
I mean, he even touches Daredevil. I mean, it's.
Everybody at some point makes a deal with Mephisto. He touches literally everyone in the Marvel universe. Not to get weird, but he touches.
No, and this goes back to what I said. It brings everything full circle, keeps everything. And I hope that they're going to go this route. I know it's speculation, but I would love to just bring them all in.
And the good thing about Marvel is, and I like that they're doing this within pace. And that's my biggest issue with DC is they try to rush all these characters in without developing them. Marvel has 10-year plans for like all these characters. I mean, think, we just finished up like really the first wave of the plan. Like Endgame was the end of, it says phase 4, but that was really all phase 1. If you think about it, I mean, we're in kind of phase 2 now. It's crazy. I mean, they're going to take the time, they're going to do it right. And I think that's why they're successful because, they don't just try to throw garbage at you, they develop it, which I mean, I like, and people think differently. That's their own. That's
crazy. I love it. The more you read about it, learn about all these other characters and how everybody fits.
So many, right?
It all fits. I mean, that's what kills me. It all fits. Yeah. And you can't say that about, I'm a big DC guy, but it's so opposite ends of the spectrum, these two companies, and how they tell a story, especially in the movie side of it or the TV show side. It's absolutely amazing.
And you know what the worst part about that is, JJ? They don't even have an excuse because they own everything. They've never sold off anything. Warner Brothers it's one studio, all under one umbrella, and they still can't get it right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Marvel's been like, doing what they can to like rent characters and make them awesome, and it's a shame.
Yep. All right.
Set our piece. Hopefully we give you guys some good information. Hey, listen, I'm not going to say all those books I told you and all the spec is going to turn into something, but
can't hurt at this point.
Anyone who's a first appearance and anyone related to Wanda right now is somebody you want to pick up if you can find them at a decent price. So out there and hunt.
I would even take a step further than that. I mean, really, really think about and do research on who these people touch and, could potentially touch. Just some of the names we've thrown out. These books are going to explode.
I mean, Wonder Man is still like a very reasonable book. This guy, I don't even remember what his name is anymore at this point, but Immobilis, still not a crazy book. Like, we're talking like 1200s, 9.0s and better. It's just, if these characters blow up, you're looking like these books are going to hit $3 or $4 grand. Mm-hmm. Not all of them are going to blow up, and not all of them are going to blow up right away. But if you have a little extra cash, sitting around that you want to invest in something, I don't think this is a bad way to do it.
Some of the names like this Hulkling guy. I mean, you might want to just pick up his first appearance. You never know.
100%. And personally, I would stay away from the Chthons. And, at this point, I'm going to tell you right now, and, even if you wind up buying Toy Stories at some point, don't go and buy Mephisto right now.
No, do not. Do not. I don't recommend it.
But, it's cool. All right, we spent a lot of time on this, and I know we have a little time left. Let's go into our reading and watching.
We haven't done this in a long time.
No, we have not.
I like this part.
Mine's going to be weird.
I'll go first because it's what I was talking about at the beginning.
And by the way, nobody can say that they're watching WandaVision.
No, we won't. So I've been reading this series from the start. So
where are you reading that at?
Funny story. Dave Sim. So you could buy all. So first of all, this was the longest running independent series ever. It went up 300 issues until Spawn got there. Yeah.
Really?
It ended in like 2004 or something like that. Crazy. But anyway, so he has all of them available for sale, but he put out this notice years ago saying that he doesn't mind if you pirate it. Like if you can find it for free, go ahead and read it. Essentially.
Interesting guy.
Yeah, he's very interesting, but that's besides the point. So
are you reading the entire series?
I don't know how far in I'm going to get because apparently around like the mid 100s, it gets a little. What were you going to say?
Do me a favor. Explain this character. Can you just give me a few minutes here? Explain.
This is a parody of Conan the Barbarian, essentially. That's what it starts out as. So I'm up to like issue 20 something, early 20s.
Oh, wow.
So each one is just like, it's all in black and white. It's these, individual little adventures. He's this douchey little, he's an aardvark. He's douchey. He's, he kills people. He's an a-hole to everybody. He's stealing money constantly, robbing castles of gold. So early on, it's just these little one-shot stories that are like parodying Marvel Barbarian stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like the first 25 issues. Once you hit issue 25, there's a storyline called High Society, which I haven't read yet, but that begins a storyline that lasts for like the rest of the 275 issues.
Wow.
It's crazy. So it's literally like, even though the stories are very self-contained, it ends up being like the longest running single narrative of comic books right now.
Is it all black? Is it all black and white from start to finish?
On, yeah. So at the beginning, it was just him doing it, but then like in issue 60-something, he got this guy to do these super intricate backgrounds. So like he'd still do the foreground art of the characters and stuff, but he'd draw these crazy detailed castle backgrounds and like environments and stuff. It's very interesting.
And he always self-published this, even to 300?
Yeah, his publishing company is called Aardvark Vanaheim Studios in Canada. Yeah.
All right, so I showed this before, so I did pick this up today.
Yeah, that's a one shot. It just came out this week.
I just opened it up, and it is all in black and white.
It is still.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, and it's weird because it's long ways.
Oh, interesting.
Landscape.
It's all landscape. The whole thing.
That's funny.
So that's a little awkward to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is all landscape. Okay.
So Matt, so did it turn to like a serious note once it hit like issue 25?
Yeah, it gets very serious. So he's a little bit of a questionable character. So when I said in the hundreds, it gets weird. So I think it's like issue 186 or something. He publishes this issue where the entire issue is an essay from the perspective of one of the characters in the book. And it basically outlines all of his views on anti-feminism, misogyny, and all this crazy stuff. And this was back in like the 90s or whatever, early 90s. So ironically, after that, he lost about two-thirds of his readership up until the end. And towards the end, the stories got very, very convoluted, almost like a lunatic wrote them, for lack of a better word. So a lot of people consider it like this guy who you see his rise and fall almost, because the series hit very, very high points, but then, dipped off very gradually. And you can almost see his descent into madness, for lack of a better term. It's fascinating. It really is. I'm definitely not reading all of it.
So looking at this, so on the very back page, they've got all these other books, and it says sold out. What's that?
Flaming Carrot, I saw.
So yeah, so I mean, they've got Spider Whore, like Spider Woman, the Vark Dead, and these are all sold out. Silver Celibus, So I guess they're doing parodies of other comic books. Here's Vark Wars. It's a Star Wars book, which
this started out as a parody. So
every month it looks like a new one every month.
That's funny.
And this is pretty interesting.
It's fascinating. I was just reading this stuff on Wikipedia for like an entire night. It's fascinating, especially because it's one of the first independent books, and it's Canadian. If I didn't say that before.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of Canadian friends out there. Shout out to them.
We do.
P. Pappas.
Fornicators Inc. I mean, this is hysterical. And I only saw this because you sent us a text, that you had one of these put on. When I saw it, they only had one on the shelf at Midtown Comics.
I'll let you guys know how the better stories are when I get them.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm reading. So I've talked enough.
Are you watching anything? Just quickly.
Just Schitt's Creek again.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
And that's SCHITT.
You're allowed to say that if it's the last name.
That's fine. I get my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sure. The only thing I've been reading, so I'm reading the Jonah Hex, the Jimmy Palmiotti. I'm saying it right. It's the Jimmy, the Justin Gray, and the Luke Ross. So I went and bought the volumes. I think it's 10 volumes, and I'm on volume 6 right now. But I've been powering through this, and I'm loving Jonah Hex even more. I liked him before, but reading these, especially Jimmy's stories, I mean, these are amazing. I mean, they're very graphic. He's just a no nonsense bounty hunter, everything. I mean, it's shocking because there's kids getting killed or dying, and
there was some very questionable. I remember there was very questionable stuff, and I think Bojo, RIP is a member of Don't Feed the Geeks, but he had talked about that was kind of like a tipping point on the book when they decided to kill a kid or something like that.
And it was the first issue that they killed the kid. So and then that set the tone. I mean, most of these are kind of weird segments of stories, and some of the art is better than most, but the art is fantastic. I mean, I love the art in this. They did such a great job. But I have all 10 volumes. Like I said, I've been powering through this in the last week and a half.
So what is it generally about? What is it generally about? What does he get into?
He's a bounty hunter. So he goes and collects bounties, and, certain stories, he's, Jonah Hex, I didn't know a lot of the backstory of him, but, his mom died or his mom left. She ran away with the salesman back, the cowboy days, and he was left with his dad. His dad was a jerk, an alcoholic and everything else. And, he beat Jonah as a kid. And, they ended up having this, big fight. And they decided Dad was going to go to California during the gold rush. And on the way, he needed stuff from the Apache Indians, and he couldn't pay them. He needed safe passage through the Apache lands, which was pretty cool. And he couldn't pay them or give them any money to, for the safe passage. So he left Jonah with the Apaches, and he was supposed to have come back, but he never did. So the Apaches treated him like a slave in the very beginning, but then he saved the chief's life, and then he became part of the whole Apache. And that's kind of how he got, I guess, in his ways. And he became a Confederate soldier during the Civil War, and he never takes it off, so he gets a lot of abuse on that. But it's just basically individual stories where he collects bounties or goes off on little tiny adventures, and it's a lot of killing.
What happened to how did he scar the face?
So that was done during his Apache days when he was with the Apaches. That was one story on that. He got burnt, and that's all burned, and a knife. Somebody cut him up. But it's pretty interesting. I like this guy. Reading these stories, I haven't read any other, Jonah Hex stories. But
his run on that is very well acclaimed.
Really good.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it. If anybody wants to read these are great. DC Universe has them. I actually I bought these from the DC app where they were on sale for $5.99 for each volume. But yeah, they're really good. Hope to finish it soon.
Thanks.
Watching wise, WandaVision.
Hey, we can't talk about that.
I've been powering through The Big Bang Theory again. I usually keep that on the side while I'm working because it gives me voice. But that's a funny show.
I've always
you watch it the first time, you never really watch the second time to a lot of shows, but you pick up a lot of new things. And one of the things that I realized, the comic book shop in that. It's all DC stuff, which makes no sense to me. They do mention Spider-Man and Thor, but you never see any Marvel memorabilia, comics, statues, anything. You either see it's either DC or Star Wars, which was interesting. So I imagine this was before the Star Wars was bought up.
Yeah, they probably didn't get the okay to use any of that stuff on the show.
I wish I could go to Stewart's store because that's a pretty cool looking store. I mean,
yeah, it's a fun show. We watch it a lot in syndication. I feel like I always see the same episodes over and over though. So I would like to. It's on HBO Max, right?
And it's fun as the cameos in it. I love the cameos. I just watched one the other day. James Earl Jones, was in it, where they knock on Carrie Fisher's door and they take off running, and it's fun because you see these characters again. And they brought a lot of cameos on this show, which was amazing. I didn't realize how many cameos. Stanley.
Yeah, it got really big really fast.
It did, and I could see the very beginning it was cool. Penny and them, they were just roommates, but then it is kind of getting weird now. It's getting old. I think I'm on the 7th season right now.
Yeah,
and to be honest with you, Bernadette is still the hottest one on the show. Not Penny.
Okay,
but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still reading some X-Men stuff. I'm in like the late 90s, so it's weird. So they just there's these groups, and I didn't really like take any time to think about this, but it's this point where there's like this group of like half human, half sentinels that are like going after them, and they like capture like a bunch of the X-Men guys, and then they somehow like escape, but it's interesting. It's gotten a little bit better. So I just finished like the Onslaught stuff, which I thought was actually pretty good. I had heard like mixed things about it. Me personally, I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's like I haven't really read a lot of it recently, just because like there's so much other stuff going on. So I haven't been reading a lot. What I have been rewatching though, and there's so much I should be watching, but I don't know. I just got the bug to rewatch this recently, and I'm watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I freaking love that show. You know what it's really is? So what's the word you like to use, Toy Story?
Exposition.
It's got a ton of exposition. And one of my favorite things is like within a show, there's not only just one storyline going on. Sometimes there's like two major or maybe like three small ones at the same time. Everyone's just so good. Like the cast works so well together. So I'm still in season 1. So season 2, and I never looked into this, and I didn't know why. I thought she just like went away for like a pregnancy. But the woman who plays the doctor, Dr. Crusher, she apparently got fired after season 1. And then they rehired her back in season 3. They like replaced her with this other doctor. It was so weird. I had never looked into that and knew about that. But it's just so good. Like everyone, like Patrick Stewart. I mean, Patrick Stewart, that guy's a legend. I mean, he's fantastic. And I like how so I was a big fan of the original, but it does get very campy. And this can be a little campy. It's definitely not as campy as like the Star Trek, the original series, but they kind of blend like a lot of different characters together. Like, so like Picard really is like only a portion of Kirk. And then like, you know, he got his second command officer is more like a little bit more like rough and tumble like Kirk. And then, you know, you have like the guy who's the cyborg Data, who's kind of like, you know, your Spock from the thing. And then you have Klingons in it. It's just awesome. And you know what I love about the show is it was very, you know, Gene Roddenberry has always been at the forefront of, you know, like diversity and inclusion and really bringing up like things that are important or like going on in society. But he did it in a way where you didn't feel like you were getting it shoved down your throat. He did it in like a very thoughtful and like kind of like, you know, it wasn't like, it didn't seem like he was trying to tell you something where he was like forcing you to say, hey, you have to think this way. It was almost like, hey, you know, what do you think about this? And there's always like, and there's episodes too where you can see both sides of an argument too. And there's like tough decisions where, you know, you have to figure out like what the pilot is amazing. Like the guy who plays this like Q, I forgot what his name is, but he's on the show a bunch of times. Fantastic character. I mean, it's just so good. Like the pilot, probably one of the best pilots of a show I've ever seen is the Next Generation pilot. I mean, you know, this came out like 30 years after the original series. I mean, there was movies going on that the original cast was still doing when this came out, but just so good. If you have never watched Star Trek: The Next Generation and you're a geek and sci-fi fan, watch it now. It's on Netflix. Toy Story, you have to watch it. You're going to really like it. Have you ever watched the original series?
Nope.
Never episodes here and there?
Mm.
I would at least maybe watch some of the movies.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to go through I think for your age, especially now, to go back and watch the 60s stuff, if you've never seen it, I think it's going to be tough. The movies might not be bad if you watch the movies with the original cast in it. But it's definitely worth a watch because there's episodes that are homages to like homages. I want everyone to know we're from New York. We say homages.
Homage.
Yeah, it's a homage. We don't say anything else. There's only specific people who don't know how to pronounce that word, not New Yorkers. All New Yorkers.
So that Q was John D. Lance.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, I love him.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome show. If you're not watching it, I'm watching it again, and you know, maybe I'll move on to Big Bang after that.
Yeah, I may move on to Generations. We'll swap.
All right.
Because
well,
we do have Wesley Crusher. And
it's funny too. Is so I was watching it the other day, and my wife's watched a ton of Big Bang with me. I was like, Steph, come here. I was like, you know who that is? She goes, obviously I don't. I was like, it's Wesley Crusher, and then she's like, who? I was like, Will Wheaton. She's like, oh. She's like, oh, that's cool. That was it. All right. Well, you guys have anything else?
I think I'm good. That was a great episode, guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching or listening to it.
Hope so.
Do you guys have any specific announcements to make about anything?
No, I don't think
just so. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
To the show.
Do you want to put the thing down there?
Yeah. It's down there already, JJ.
It's there, isn't it? Yep. No, not that. Oh, that was the wrong one.
So we do have a big announcement too. Our buddy here, Toy Story, just did his first big Elite Comics 11 sale. Well, you didn't do the sale, but what do you call it? You moderated it?
Yeah, top screening it.
You did that?
I didn't do it. Well, when this is out, I'll have done it.
Yeah, so this is Thursday. Technically, you're doing it tomorrow.
I'm going to do it for a little bit tomorrow, yeah.
Are you doing the first or second hour?
I don't know. It is going to be like 7 hours, so hopefully I'm not doing all of it.
Right, well, you tell me when you're going to be on, because I don't want to watch the whole thing.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I mean, they're having live sales every day. So it's they need more people, to help out.
Right. Cool stuff.
So we'll see how I do.
We do have some big things in the works. We're not going to announce them yet, though. We have a bunch of different ideas to do different content for you guys, but definitely stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you're right now. Just go boop. Hit that subscribe button right now. And if you see that little bell up here, see that little bell right there, down there, hit that bell too, because every time we drop a new video, you guys will get a notification so you don't miss out on anything. And if you listen to this via a podcast listening only service, make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you're hitting those like buttons, guys. Make sure you're commenting. We want to see that interaction with you guys. If you want to hit us up on DMs on Instagram or Facebook, maybe more Instagram, because I don't know if people check anything else. But
Instagram's the home.
Instagram's our base of operations, so we're very active there. We do really appreciate it. There's been a ton of you who've been reaching out and telling us you enjoy the show. It means so much to us that you guys reach out and tell us that. And there's been we've gotten a couple interesting recommendations for future shows too. So
I also want to hear if you don't like us. Let us know. Just tell us.
Just tell JJ.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for me, guys. If you guys have nothing else, I guess we'll say until next time, remember,
don't feed the geeks.